"You're fired, and if you speak about this, we'll ruin you." That's what they told her. Not in a courtroom, not through a formal letter, but in a dim hospital break room, fluorescent lights flickering, vending machines humming, and a clipboard slammed on the table like a warning shot. She had just clocked out from a 12-hour shift. Her scrubs were wrinkled, her eyes tired, but her heart still heavy from what she witnessed. A black nurse, a scared patient, and a white male doctor who thought no one would say a word. But she did. She wrote it down. She logged every detail, date, time, names, the trembling in the girl's voice, the way that doctor smirked when no one was watching. She followed the protocol, filed the report, spoke to HR, expected the system to do its job. Instead, she got silence, then side eyes, then a meeting request with no subject line. And when she showed up, they didn't ask questions. They didn't investigate. They handed her a termination form and said it with ice in their voices. "You're done here, and if you breathe a word of this to anyone, consider your entire career over." What they didn't know was that this nurse didn't scare easy. She didn't just listen. She recorded. She saved emails. She made backup copies. She had receipts, real ones. And 3 months later, she wasn't whispering. She was speaking on CNN. Before we dive in, what country are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments and hit that subscribe button if stories like this matter to you. Because here, we don't just tell stories. We fight back through storytelling. Her name was Brielle Hawkins, 29 years old, black registered nurse. The kind of nurse who stayed late to comfort patients, who remembered birthdays, who brought extra blankets without being asked. She wasn't loud. She wasn't political. She wasn't trying to start anything. She just wanted to care. But on one Friday night shift in the ICU, everything changed. It started as a routine check-in, vitals, chart updates, medication logs, until she walked past room 213. Inside, a senior doctor, mid-50s, white, one of the most respected names in the hospital, and a vulnerable teenage patient. Barely conscious, strapped to monitors, eyes wide with dread, Brielle froze. Because what she saw wasn't just unethical, it was dangerous. The doctor stood far too close. He wasn't checking vitals. He was whispering, low, intimate, predatory. And he pressed the patient's chart, hard, against her chest like a barrier and a threat. The girl didn't cry. She couldn't, but her eyes screamed louder than words ever could. Brielle didn't look away. She didn't keep walking. She paused, watched, memorized every detail. Then she moved like a professional. She noted the exact time, saved the patient's file, wrote a full incident report, clean, precise, undeniable. She even advised the family, gently, to consider a transfer for their daughter's safety. She thought she was doing the right thing. She was doing the right thing. But by Monday morning, HR had already decided who the problem was. They didn't ask questions. They didn't open an investigation. They didn't thank her. Instead, they pulled her into a cold, gray office with locked filing cabinets and warned her not to assume, not to overreact, and most of all, not to share any of this outside these walls. Behind every polite smile was a threat. And 2 weeks later, without ceremony, without process, they terminated her. No due process, no severance, no appeals, just a silent escort off the premises, and the soft click of her ID badge being deactivated behind her. Her hands still smelled like antiseptic. Her locker was still filled with patient thank you notes and granola bars she hadn't eaten, and just like that, she was erased. Brielle had rent due, a mountain of student loans, no savings to fall back on, and no new job lined up. But the real wound wasn't financial. It was the betrayal. The cold looks from other nurses, the ones who avoided eye contact. The silence from supervisors who used to praise her. The HR director logging her exit as a voluntary resignation to protect the hospital's image. The patients she bonded with left behind, confused. Her hospital inbox gone. Professional contacts gone. Job reference, erased. NDAs started showing up in her personal email, some written in cold legalese, others framed as standard exit documents, all warning her not to speak. The message was clear. Disappear. Forget. Move on. But Brielle wasn't built like that. She didn't scream. She didn't rant online. She didn't call a lawyer just yet. She gathered. She saved the time-stamped report. She backed up internal emails. She screenshot memos. She kept a copy of the security footage logs. And she documented the break room meeting, down to the exact words and time. She didn't just survive. She strategized. Because if no one else was going to fight for that patient, she would. And this time, the world was going to listen. She didn't go to the press right away. Brielle knew how this played out for others. Women who spoke too soon. Black women labeled angry before they even finished their sentence. She knew the hospital had lawyers, PR machines, powerful connections. So she moved with quiet precision. First, she reached out to someone she could trust, a local journalist named Tasha Grant. Tasha had a reputation. She didn't chase celebrity scandals or gossip pieces. She told the stories that hospitals, schools, and corporations tried to bury. Stories about medical abuse, sexual misconduct, whistleblowers no one believed until it was too late. Brielle sent her a short message. Just 5 lines. No name. No hospital. No patient identity. Just this. I'm a nurse. I was fired after reporting abuse. I have evidence. I need help, Tasha responded in minutes. Over the next 2 weeks, they worked in silence. Tasha cross-checked hospital rosters, verified Brielle's credentials, confirmed timestamps, reviewed the emails, reports, meeting transcripts, and even camera log entries that Brielle had saved. Then came the most difficult part, contacting the family of the patient. It took courage, tears, and time. But eventually, the patient's mother, through trembling hands and protective instinct, agreed to speak anonymously. She confirmed everything. The inappropriate behavior, the sudden change in her daughter's condition, the cold treatment after Brielle's departure, and the sense that something was being hidden. That was all Tasha needed. The story broke small. A quiet digital headline on a local investigative site. Nurse alleges retaliation after reporting misconduct at Midtown General. At first, silence. No comments. No shares. Brielle didn't expect fireworks. She just wanted the truth out there. But truth, when it's real? It moves. By day 2, a regional health blog reposted it. By day 5, a nursing advocacy page picked it up. By day 7, the headline changed. Black nurse fired after reporting abuse. Evidence suggests cover-up. By the second week, it hit national news. CNN called. Not for a soundbite, not for a quote, for an interview. They flew Brielle out, put her in a hotel, hired a makeup artist, mic'd her up under the glow of broadcast lights. She sat there, straight-backed, calm, and composed. Not bitter. Not vengeful, just ready. She didn't name the hospital. She didn't name the doctor. She didn't need to. What she said hit harder than any headline. When we protect doctors over victims, we fail medicine. I didn't become a nurse to stay silent. I became a nurse to heal. And silence is not healing. The interview aired that evening during prime time. It trended within the hour. Justice for Brielle. The hashtag exploded. Nurses from across the country shared their own silencing stories. Former hospital employees posted cryptic messages. Patients shared anonymous tips. It was no longer just about Brielle. It was about the thousands like her. Back at her old hospital, panic set in. Board members scrambled for statements. Legal teams re-examined HR reports. Executives scheduled emergency ethics meetings. The hospital issued a vague statement at first. Something about employee misunderstandings and a commitment to patient safety. But it didn't work. Too many people knew the truth now. And then the leaks began. Anonymous staff emails, screenshots, call logs, internal memos. One showed the doctor had already been reported twice before. Another revealed the HR director referred to Brielle as a liability with good hair. The final blow? 3 more patients, completely unrelated to Brielle, came forward with stories of inappropriate conduct from the same doctor. Suddenly, silence was no longer an option. The hospital suspended the doctor indefinitely. The HR director resigned for personal reasons. An internal review committee was formed. But for Brielle, this wasn't about revenge. It was about responsibility. Within a month, Brielle was invited to speak at Johns Hopkins for a panel on healthcare ethics. She stood on stage, not in scrubs, but in a sharp black blazer, addressing medical students and doctors who hung on to every word. She spoke about silence, about the cost of speaking up, and about the kind of culture that makes good nurses disposable. Her inbox flooded with messages, job offers, requests for collaboration, mentorship invitations, panels, summits, boards. Some offers were 6 figures. Private clinics, high-end hospitals trying to repair their image, consultant roles with big benefits. One hospital even offered to rename their ethics department after her. But Brielle didn't choose the highest bidder. Instead, she built something that couldn't be taken away, the Hawkins Foundation, a nonprofit focused solely on supporting healthcare whistleblowers, anonymous reporting tools, legal aid, mental health support, media liaison, protection for nurses, techs, and even janitors who see what others ignore. Her first initiative? A whistleblower emergency fund, so no one would have to choose between telling the truth and paying rent. By the time her old hospital released a formal apology, by the time CNN ran a second segment titled, "One Nurse, One Report, A National Reckoning," Brielle had already moved on, not just past the pain but into purpose. She didn't need their apology. She didn't need their job back. She didn't need their money, because she had something more powerful. Her voice, her integrity, her impact. People who once ghosted her started reposting her story, adding "We stand with Brielle" to their bios. The HR director, now under professional investigation. The doctor, license suspended pending a full review. And Brielle? She was no longer just a nurse. She had become the face of a movement. She walked through fire, alone, afraid, and underestimated, and they tried to silence her, but she turned their silence into a spotlight. If this story moved you, don't just scroll. Subscribe, comment, share, because every story we tell here is a story someone tried to erase. And if you thought this was powerful, wait until you hear what happened to the black engineer who shut down an airport just by speaking up.